I walked in from work, and Emily met me at the door with that soft smile she'd had since our first month. Lights low, jazz low enough to hear the dishwasher. She took my bag, hung my jacket, kissed me, and slid a plate across the counter like it was a ritual. "Sit," she said. "You look worn out." "I'm fine," I told her. "This is nicer than fine." We ate. She asked about the job site, the guy who kept misreading measurements, the leaky window in my truck. She knew my rhythms. After dinner, she tucked her feet under my leg on the couch and scrolled through movie options. "You pick," she said. "Dangerous responsibility," I teased. It was home, the kind of quiet most men would sell a year of life for. If I'd known where it was headed, I'd have savored the silence a little harder. The next morning, I hit the coffee shop like always. Same barista, same corner table, same black coffee. I was scanning emails when a woman I didn't know set her cup down across from me. Pretty, early 30s, precise eyes. No hi, no smile. "Your wife is meeting my husband," she said. I stared at her. She didn't blink. "That's a weird opener," I managed. She slid her phone across. Photos. My front porch. A man I didn't know walking up my steps at noon. His face clear. Another shot, same guy inside. A sliver of my living room and that blue blanket Emily liked. My mouth went dry. I pushed the cup away. "Who are you?" I asked. "Zoe Parker," she said. "He's Colin. I hired someone. The report landed last week. I waited because my attorney told me to keep quiet. But I watched you come in here day after day like everything was fine. It wasn't kind anymore." "I don't take strangers at their word," I said. "I'm not built like that." "Then don't take mine," she said. "Take the photos." I zoomed. Timestamps. Weekdays. Always noon to 2. My work hours. My chest tightened, not from pain, from anger measured out teaspoon by teaspoon. "I'm going to my house," I said, pushing back my chair. Her hand settled on my forearm. Not flirty. Breaking. "Don't," she said. "Not yet. It'll blow up, and the pieces will cut you worse than the blade. Document. Be smart. Set your rules first." "You expect me to sit in it?" "I expect you to act like a man who doesn't make a mess he'll spend a year cleaning," she answered. "If you care about outcomes." I sat back down because she was right about one thing. I hate mess. "How long?" "Don't know," she said. "I learned a week ago. I hired someone because I felt off. He sent me everything. I'm filing. My guy's good. If you want his name, I'll share it when you're ready." "You walk up to men in coffee shops often?" "Only the ones living in my same bad story." We traded numbers. I told her my name. Mark Davis. She shook my hand like we were in a boardroom, then left. I was late to the site and useless when I got there. A tape measure felt like a prop. By lunch, I'd mentally rewired the week. On the drive home that night, I rehearsed lies. Then I dropped them. Emily is sharp. She hears the air change. At the door, same smile. "You're late," she said, taking my jacket. "Site was a circus," I said. "Eat first or shower?" "Talk," I said, leaning on the counter. "How was your day?" She reached for plates, voice light. "Busy. Grocery, laundry, yoga. Nothing dramatic." "And noon?" She glanced up. "Noon? It exists. Between morning and afternoon." She laughed. "Yes, and what happened then?" She set the plates down, nonchalant. "I think I folded towels." "What?" Felt like asking. I said, sipping water. "I'm moving my gym to mornings this week. Might swing by for a sandwich at lunch." "That's sweet," she said. "I'll make something special." I watched her face. There was the tiniest pause before she smiled. Maybe I was inventing it. Maybe not. I ate dinner. We watched a show. She tucked her feet under my leg again. Everything looked like our life. But something in the rhythm had a skip. The next morning I met Zoe again. Both of us pretending it was about coffee. "You good?" she asked. "I'm steady," I said. "And busy. I'm switching my schedule." No warning. "Good," she said. Keep her guessing. "How long have you been married?" I asked. 8 years, she said. "He travels for consulting." Turns out he travels to our shared zip code. I snorted. "I do construction. We measure twice." Apparently I didn't. "Don't kick yourself," she said. "I don't kick," I said. I course correct. We traded timelines and limits. When I left, I stopped by my bank and set up separate accounts. I left the joint one funded for routine bills, cut off everything discretionary. No announcement, just the math. At work, Louis eyed me. "You're pacing," he said, flipping his pencil. You pace when a client underpays or your truck knocks. New schedule, I said. Trying routines. You hate routines, he said, suspicious. I hate wasting time, I said. Different problem. At noon, I drove past my own house. Didn't stop. No car in the driveway. That meant nothing. The photos had the same empty driveway. I parked around the corner anyway, watched for 5 minutes, then left. I did that 3 days. Nothing obvious. Just the feeling of someone who knows where the floor is going to give. That night, I came home early without telling her. She was at the stove, hair tied up, music on. She turned, surprised. You're early, she said. Missed you, I said, and kissed her cheek. What's for lunch tomorrow? She hesitated like a player caught off beat. I could bring you something. I'll swing by, I said, opening the fridge. Around 12:30. She cocked her head. You never come home midday. Trying to, I said, seeing how it fits. She rested a hand on my arm. Mark, if you're stressed, say it. Don't rearrange your life to prove a point. Not proving, I said. Testing. She pulled back. Okay, then text me so I can time it. I'll surprise you, I shrugged. Her smile went tight. You know I like planning. I know, I said. I'm trying a different muscle. I set another rule quietly. No detailed daily run-throughs. She asked what the next day looked like. I gave broad strokes. She frowned. We're a team, she said. We share. We share big things, I said. You don't need my bathroom schedule. She laughed because the line was funny. Humor hides fences well. I let it. The next morning in the coffee shop, Zoe slid a folder across. My attorney, Klein. He's clean. He doesn't posture. I'll call, I said. Do more than call, she said. Walk in. This gets worse before it gets better. You sound like a doctor with a needle. Do you want the infection out, or do you want to rub it? I booked a meeting for that afternoon. Klein had a tidy office and a direct way of speaking I respected. You want a quiet exit, he said after I laid out the situation. You don't want theatrics. Correct. Then you control money, access, and information, he said, ticking points on his fingers. Document, don't announce. When you're ready, we file and serve. Until then, you act normal enough to hold structure. Normal enough, I echoed. He slid a checklist. I hate checklists unless they're mine. But I took it. At home that night, I cooked. Emily walked in, surprised. You never cook on Thursdays, she said. I can learn, I said. She tasted the sauce, nodded. It's good. High praise, I said. She leaned on the counter. I'm sorry if I've been. I don't know. Short. You've been on edge. Have I? I asked. She lifted a shoulder. I felt it. I want us to be good. There was the first soft turn. She laid a hand on my chest like a pledge. Warm words, warm kitchen. Under other circumstances, I'd leave it at that. This time I logged it as a tactic. I didn't call it out. I didn't need to. The move itself told me what it was. Then we're good, I said. I'm not hard to keep happy. Honesty and food. She laughed again. I made a note to change the locks when this ended. I kept meeting Zoe mornings. We didn't just trade case notes. We traded life. She worked in HR for a logistics company. She had a dry sense of humor and a way of watching that reminded me of an inspector. You sleep? She asked one morning. Yes, I said. You mean no? She said. You're here before the place opens. I like the quiet before the kids with laptops flood the tables. I like truth before people start performing it. That day, at noon, I stopped by the house without warning. A utility van idled 2 doors down. My neighbor, Benton, was dragging his trash can. Retired, protective of his yard lines, knew every car on the block. Mr. Benton, I called, casual. He nodded. You're home early. Trying it out, I said. You see a white sedan around much? Out-of-state plates. Shows up midday. He scratched his jaw. Guy with a clean haircut? Buttoned down even when it's hot. Maybe. I've seen him, he said. Couple times a week. Walks up your steps like he paid for them. Didn't figure I needed to ring you unless he started stealing your packages. That's plenty, I said. If you see him again, take note. I'll do more than that, he said, and there was a quiet steel in it. I went inside. Empty. The house smelled like cleaner. A single glass sat on the counter, faint ring under it. She doesn't leave rings. I pressed a thumb to it and didn't find a reason to smile. At work, Luis rolled by with a ladder. We hitting lunch? He asked. I've got a task, I said. Rain check. You never rain check, he said, then looked at me harder. You good? I'm fine, I said. Do me a favor, swing by my place with me after. I need to grab my long level. Now. After, I said. I want a witness to my taste in tools. He didn't ask why. Friends like him don't. We went after too. I unlocked the door, stepped in. The air was different, like a room where someone had just left. Not a smell, more like a pattern was broken. A jacket, men's, hung on the back of a chair. Not mine. Luis's eyebrows lifted. That yours? He asked. Nope. I snapped a photo, put the jacket in a bag, labeled the bag with the date, and set it by the door. I'm not a dramatic man, but I respect records. In the hall mirror, a hair I didn't recognize stuck to a sweater she never wore at noon. I took a photo. Then I grabbed my long level, and we left. Want to say what this is? Luis asked, hands on the steering wheel. No, I said. But thank you. That jacket, he said. Not mine, I said. He let it sit. That's why we're still friends. That night, Emily tried bright again. Too bright. You're quiet, she said, loading the dishwasher. You and Luis okay? We're fine. You mad at me? I don't do mad at, I said. I do decisions. That sounds ominous. It sounds like me, I said. I'm moving to the guest room for a bit. I need sleep. Because of what? Because I said so, I said, and left it there. She followed me down the hall. Are you punishing me for something I don't know? I'm not in the punishment business, I said. I'm in the clarity business. She stood in the doorway while I put clean sheets on the spare bed. Can we talk? We just did, I said. She breathed through her nose like that did something. I'm making your favorite tomorrow, she said finally. Don't be distant for the sake of it. Make whatever you want, I said. Food doesn't change math. The next morning, Zoe was early and wound tight. She looked at me over her cup, then leaned in. Forget your wife, she said. You're a better man than this story. You're clear, you're steady. Let's do an actual date. Not these 10-minute war briefings. Tonight, I said without thinking. Then I thought, and I still said, tonight. We picked a spot neither of us used in regular life. We kept it simple. Steak and sides. We didn't talk about them. We talked about favorite road trips. Annoying habits, the dumbest purchase we'd ever made. She teased me about my label maker. I teased her about paying someone to color code her closet. Outside, I walked her to her door. We sat in my truck, engine off, the cabin light off. The street was quiet. That felt like normal, she said softly. Not perfect. Better. It felt like me again, I said. She touched my arm. Kiss me if you want. Don't if it makes you feel like a hypocrite. Hypocrisy requires a sermon, I said. I'm done preaching. We kissed. No fireworks, no accidents. Just two steady people finding a good line. When she went inside, I sat another minute, then started the truck and drove home. Emily was in the kitchen when I came in. The clock was late. She looked at me, eyes narrow. You didn't text, she said. I didn't feel like texting. You always text. Not anymore, I said. I'm changing the rule. You don't get to unilaterally change rules, she snapped. I do, I said. When the rules stopped being mutual a while ago. What does that mean? It means I know more than you think, I said. And I'm acting accordingly. You're being cryptic, she said. It's childish. No, I said. It's me protecting my time from a conversation designed to waste it. She stared hard, then dialed down the tone. Quick pivot. I made you that pasta you like. I ate, I said, and walked to the guest room. I filed with Klein the next morning. He said one word. Good. He handed me a packet and a timeline. When you want to turn the page, you do it in one motion, he said. No speeches. At work, I told Luis. I'm going to be in and out for a few weeks. He nodded. You don't owe me details. You owe me safety. You safe. I'm steady, I said. He pointed at me. Then I'm good. That weekend, we had plans to go to Karis, a friend of Emily's who loved to collect people and act like she curated us. Backyard, small group, craft beer, curated playlist. I almost canceled. Then I didn't. I needed one boundary on someone else's turf. Kara hugged Emily too long and me too briefly. She is a woman who counts. People circled the grill. A guy I barely knew tried to make a joke. So, Mark, you finally got your promotion to foreman? He said. Look at you, Mr. Authority. It's just a title, I said. Authority is when people listen. Emily rolled her eyes in a way she thought was cute. Don't get him started, she said to the group. He'll give you a lecture on doing things right. Eyes flicked to me. I set my drink down. You want to try that line again? I asked Emily evenly. She laughed. I'm kidding. Relax. Don't do it, I told her. Don't do what? Don't make me the punchline to buy yourself points. The circle went quiet. Kara said too brightly. So music, huh? Anyone need another drink? I'm good, I said. I turned to Emily. Here's my new rule. You and I don't critique each other in public. At all. I'm not doing double standards. You need something from me, you use a straight sentence. You don't imply. Everyone's so serious, she said with a small laugh. I'm serious, I said. And I'm very calm. Don't test it. Kara blinked between us. You two okay? We're fine, I said. We're improving our settings. We didn't linger. On the drive home, Emily folded her arms. You embarrassed me, she said. No, I said. I stopped you from doing it to me. You made a scene. I made a boundary, I said. If that feels like a scene to you, that's a you problem. She went quiet, scanning for a leverage point. I was planning a weekend at the lake, she said. I booked the cabin. It was supposed to be a surprise. I thought you'd like it. There was the second soft turn. Bigger this time, with props. She pulled up the reservation confirmation like a trophy. You want me to cancel? She asked. Is that the next rule? Do what you want with your calendar, I said. I've got my own plans. She exhaled a humorless breath. You're not special because you're difficult. I'm not difficult, I said. I'm done playing along. That week, I moved valuables to a storage unit. Nothing dramatic. Tools, heirlooms, documents. I forwarded my mail to a box. I lined up a short-term lease under my business name. I told Klein to call me when every paper was ready for sign-off. I didn't explain anything to Emily. She didn't ask directly. She pouted. She preened. She tried sweet. She tried sharp. I stuck to a tight script, functional sentences only. I wasn't cruel. I was efficient. Every morning, Zoe and I still met. Then we started meeting at night, too. We cooked at her place, took walks, watched dumb shows, laughed at things that were actually funny. We kept each other sane. The contrast with the house I lived in wasn't subtle. With Zoe, I didn't brace. One Tuesday, Benton tipped his cap from his driveway as I pulled in. He was here again, he said quietly. When? I asked. Noon, he said. I took a picture of the plates. Not to meddle. To be clear. Thank you, I said, and meant it. Inside, Emily was on the phone, voice low. When she saw me, she ended the call too fast. You're early, she said. Trying a new thing, I said. You free for a talk? She hesitated half a beat. Sure. In 2 sentences, I said, what are you doing at noon these days? She blinked. What is this, an interrogation? In 2 sentences, I repeated. She lifted her chin. I do errands. I work out. Sometimes I nap. Good, I said. Then this won't hurt your schedule. I'll be around more. She licked her lips like a kid caught with a snack before dinner. Why? Because it's my house, I said. And because I can. That night, Zoe and I ordered Thai and talked about moving. I want out of this city, she said. It's too small for the noise. After the papers hit, I said, we sell, we split, we go. I found a place 2 hours west, she said, pulling up photos. Small house, good yard, workshop. You had me at workshop, I said. You had me at quiet, she said. Klein called Friday. Your packet is ready, he said. You both can sign today. We'll serve Monday. Do it, I said. Zoe texted, mine's ready too. We met before lunch, signed everything in Klein's office. He watched us both like a doctor watching vitals. When we finished, he nodded. You understand. When this moves, it moves, he said. We're not flinching, I said. Zoe squeezed my hand once and let go. We drove separate cars to our separate houses. At mine, Emily was in the living room, laptop open. You're home early, she said. I am, I said. I'll be packing some things today. Packing for what? She asked, a laugh under the question. Your little guest room protest? For leaving, I said. The laugh died. Leaving where? Out, I said. You'll have the details on the counter. She stood, face working through scripts. You can't just. I can, I said. And I am. This is ridiculous, she said, voice rising. We should talk like adults. I've been talking like an adult for months, I said. You like the sound of it, you don't like the content. That's not my problem. You're overreacting, she said. If I've done something to upset you, tell me instead of playing games. You've done many somethings, I said. None of them are a game to me. The explanation window closed. You don't even have proof, she snapped. I have enough to make decisions, I said. I'm not a jury. I don't need unanimous. She tried again, different lever. What will people think? They'll think we grew apart, I said. And they'll be right. Now move. I gathered my clothes, my tools, photo albums I cared about. I left furniture. I left the TV. I taped a manila envelope to the fridge with her name on it. Inside, my copy of the packet bearing her name on the front, a short note in my handwriting. My note read, "The papers are filed. Keys on the hook. Don't call." When I walked out with the last box, she stood in the hallway, arms locked, words loaded. "You're making a mistake," she said. "No," I said. "I'm correcting one." "You'll regret this," she said, small and sharp. "I don't do regret," I said. "I do accountability." I put the box in my truck, closed the bed, and didn't look back. I drove to Zoe's. She stepped out with a box of her own, smiled at me with a kind of tired joy, and tossed it into my bed. "You ready?" she asked. "For clean air?" I said, "Yes." We didn't send long messages to anyone. We didn't feed the drama. We moved our things into the rental we picked as a landing pad, side by side. That night, surrounded by boxes and pizza we barely touched, Zoe leaned into my shoulder. "You okay?" she asked. "I'm more than okay," I said. "I'm free." "Don't cheapen it with big words," she said, smirking. "Just tell me you're sleeping." "I'm sleeping," I said, "and I'm done explaining my bedtime." The call started the next day. Emily, then her sister, then Kara. I let them all go to voicemail. I listened to none. Zoe's phone lit up too. Colin sent long strings of texts that read like he'd lost a bet with himself. She set her phone face down. We didn't hide. We didn't post. We went on with our days. Klein texted updates, signatures received, notices out. No scenes. No blow-ups. Property sales lined up faster than I expected because money talks when emotions shut up. One afternoon, I stopped by the old house to grab a tool I'd missed and to meet the realtor. Emily pulled in as I loaded the last box. She got out and stood there like she wanted the earth to rearrange under my feet. She looked good, like always. People don't turn ugly when they act ugly. They just run out of shine. "You're really doing this," she said. "I really did it," I said. "You won't even listen to me?" she asked. "One conversation. That's it." "I listened for weeks to the absence of one," I said. "That's enough. You don't know what you're throwing away." "I do," I said. "I'm not throwing it." I set it down. She stepped closer. "Who is she?" "You don't get that answer," I said. "You forfeited the right to my details. You get logistics." "Did you ever love me?" she asked, a last swing. "Enough to be honest," I said. "Enough to walk when the respect stopped." She blinked, stunned I used that word out loud. Not anger. Not love. Respect. Then she lunged for a different line. "People are going to talk," she said. "They already did," I said. "Now they'll stop." She folded her arms. "You're cruel." "No," I said. "I'm clear." I handed the extra key to the realtor and, facing Emily, added the only thing I wanted to leave in the air. "Next time you want 2 lives, don't use someone else's house for the second one." I walked past her, started the truck, and drove away. We closed on the sale fast. The proceeds hit the joint account and were divided per the plan. I didn't haggle. She tried to call during the transfer. I let it ring. I let everything ring. I kept doing the next thing. Zoe and I found the place 2 hours west. It was exactly as advertised. Small house, big yard, detached shop with good light. We bought it together without ceremony. That first morning in the new house, I brewed coffee in a quiet kitchen and looked out at a yard that needed mowing. Perfection. "You smile like a man with a plan," Zoe said, patting in. "I smile like a man who isn't lying to himself about anything," I said. We kept our days full and simple. I took on projects with a crew that didn't know my old history. Zoe went remote with her job and picked up running on the side streets no one crowded. We made friends the way adults do, through neighbors who needed a fence mended and a couple we met at the hardware store who invited us over for burgers and stories about small-town quirks. We hosted low-key nights in the backyard with lights I strung across the fence. No speeches. Just easy people and dog-eared jokes. Sometimes, over coffee, we'd mention the old storm. Do you think they're happy? Zoe asked once, neutral tone. I think they're busy doing damage control, I said. Happiness doesn't sound like that. She nodded. Klein says Colin moved into a small apartment near the highway. Klein says Emily moved into a condo downtown. I said, less space than she wanted, more mirrors than she needs. We didn't gloat. We didn't have to. Reality was loud enough. A year later, Luis drove out to see the shop and drink beer in my new backyard. He looked around, took a long pull, and grunted approval. You landed, he said. I built a runway, I told him. He smirked. You always preferred lumber to speeches. Zoe joined us with a plate of grilled chicken. Luis raised a brow. So this is the legend, he said, theatrical. Zoe rolled her eyes. Don't put that on me. She won't let me be corny. I said. It's helpful. Keep him honest, Luis said to her. Not my job, she said. He does that fine on his own. Later, when the sun was almost down, I checked my phone out of habit. Nothing from the past, nothing from anybody I didn't care to hear from. Just a reminder for a project bid and a message from Benton, the old neighbor, that read, Hope you're well. Street is quieter. I sent back, I am. Good to hear. Sometimes life doesn't need a grand sermon to make a point. It needs a line drawn, a door shut, and a man who keeps walking. People will call it cold. I call it clear. If you want a final sentence, here it is. I left the keys on the hook, and I took my self-respect with me.